Assalamu alaikum, everyone, and welcome back to another dinner break series. This is the December dinner break series. It's our last one of the year, and I want to say thank you for all that you have done this year in biosafety. We've had an incredible year. Let me tell you, all the things that we've done with the NIH Fogarty program, master trainer programs, in-person biosafety training programs, all the training programs that you have done in your organizations and at your institutions, the 52-week program, the One Health program, the Biorisk trainer program, the development of the YouTube channels, the dinner break series. We have touched so many people, and that's not possible without you. So I want to say thank you for all that you've done this year. It's been a huge year for Pakistan and for biosafety, and that comes because of a bunch of leaders that I'm seeing who are attending these calls. Of course, I've got to always thank PEPSA and Dr. Amir Ikram. He's a phenomenal leader in biosafety, and many other leaders throughout Pakistan whose names I can't even begin to mention because there's so many of them. So I do want to say thank you again for all you do. Thank you for allowing me to serve you. It's been a fantastic year, mashallah, and I hope next year it'll be just as good, inshallah. So I hope this finds all of you doing well. Blessings to you and your family. I am praying for very special people in Pakistan, always praying for everyone there, but I will continue to mention Dr. Adnan and his wife Seda and their family. They are in our prayers, and so if you do know Dr. Adnan and Seda, his wife, please let them know and pray for them as well as they face a big challenge. Cancer is a very tough thing, and so let's pray that we will not only find a solution one day to it, but pray for those who struggle with it. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to talk about ISO 35001. I am going to give you a fair warning. I'm going to try and do this on turbo because I'm going to try and go through the whole document, kind of highlight things. Now, I would send this document out to you, I really would, but it's copyrighted and it's quite expensive. And so if I send it out to you, I'm going to have to pay for all the people that read it. It's copyrighted, I'd be in big trouble. So what I would like to do is kind of preview it for you. That way, if you want to invest in it, you can. And bring it down, but I don't want you to get this document and say, whoa, I paid all this money and this is what I got. I don't really understand it. So I will be posting this on the YouTube channel. If you have not visited the PEPSA YouTube channel, you should. And if you haven't subscribed to it, you should as well. Because over the next month and a half, 2 months, there's going to be over 50 videos posted from people living in Pakistan. It's going to be in Shina, going to be in Urdu, going to be in Punjab. It's going to be in all different languages, and you really, truly should know when those things come out. Plus, it helps. The more subscribers we get from Pakistan, YouTube begins to pour money a little bit into PEPSA for the advertisement and the marketing aspect. So again, we're at over 600 subscribers right now, and this year alone, after starting the program in about middle of the year, this year alone, we've had 11,000 views, 11,000 views. It's an unbelievable feat this year on the YouTube channel. So again, if you are not subscribed to the PEPSA YouTube channel, please subscribe to it. I think it's a good idea, and I think you share that subscription as well so that any new videos that do come out, you have first access to them. There's been some really neat ones recently. Dr. Tahir Uzman posted a video, a 3 to 5 minute video on hand washing, but the beautiful aspect of this hand washing is that he actually used his 3 children, and they're beautiful. And so you've got to go online and look at this, because I think one of the greatest secrets in the world is how much beauty and wonder and awesomeness is in Pakistan. And I think that when you post these videos and people have a chance to see the love and the passion in Pakistan, I think it really represents not only you, but your country in a very beautiful way. So anyway, that being said, I will step off of the YouTube. Let's blitz through this ISO 35001. And again, don't worry, if you have questions, please put them in the chat box. I will try and get to them at the end of the presentation. And this will be and is being recorded and will be posted to the YouTube channel probably before the end of the year. That's what I'm hoping. So stay tuned on that. And again, if you subscribe, you'll know exactly when that video posts. Okay? All right. So let's talk a little bit about ISO 35001. Now, many people may not even know what ISO is, though I suspect this is really interesting. Majority of the time, we get about 125, 130 registrations for this presentation. This month, we got over 200. So over 200 people are registered to watch this. So I suspect that many people in Pakistan know exactly what ISO is and know that it's probably a good goal. Even if you don't get ISO certified or accredited, the reality is it's a good goal to aim for. So let's talk a little bit about what ISO is. It is the International Organization for Standardization. It's a worldwide federation that has several different national bodies. So different perspectives from North America, South America, Europe, China, I mean, almost every country around the world is included in this process. And what ISO 35001 is it's a real document that focuses on the biorisk management system. Now, for those of you that have been working with me and Tim Trevon and Jason Rao at HSP and a lot of it, look, none of this is going to be new to you. We have been talking about a systems management approach in Pakistan now for almost 3 years. So I don't think that there's going to be any big surprises as I go through this document. But if you're new to this, if you're not understanding what a systems approach to biorisk management is, stay tuned because this may give you some really good stuff. One of the things that many people ask when I visit Pakistan is, are there any guidelines or documents that we can give to leaders so that they can take a look at kind of what their role is? Well, not only does the CWA, which by the way is free, the SIM Workshop Agreement 15793, that's free, or 16397, I think, that's free. But what that did, what the CWA did was went into an ISO standard, which isn't free. And now that there's an ISO standard, you do have a lot of things you can give your leaders to get them engaged, because now that we have an international standard for biorisk management, there is that kind of threshold that we can aim for. Now, what this biorisk management system aims to do is it aims to establish a biorisk management principle, okay? And it defines essential components of biorisk management programs and describes biorisk management process, and then provides a guidance and implementation strategy for doing that. It enables organizations to effectively identify, access, assess, control, and evaluate biosafety and biosecurity concerns. Now, one of the things that I think is very, very important for us to understand is that ISO really does focus on a top-down approach. It requires commitment from top management. This is something that I have been screaming for years, and I'm so happy that it's part of the international standard. WHO's new book also talks a little bit about leadership, but ISO actually says it is a critical foundation for biosafety and biorisk management. Top management has to be included. They have to be able to provide resources, policies, set expectations, determine what went wrong during incidents and accidents, and again, non-conformities, that's when people don't follow SOPs, and identify opportunities for improvement and prevention of not only incidents and accidents, but non-conformities as well. So it calls leadership out. It basically, I mean, it doesn't say administrative controls. It doesn't say, it says leadership. It's actually one of the sections, leadership. And so leadership is absolutely identified as a critical function of biorisk management. And I think that's absolutely critical for the success of it as well in an organization. You want to know how safe an organization is? I tell you, the closer the leader is, the safer that organization is. If you want to know how good a parent is or a child is, you can see, you don't even have to evaluate a child. You can evaluate if the parent is close to the child is going to be good. If the parent is far from a child, the child may have some behaviors we may not want them to have. So the reality is leaders have to be involved. One of the other things that ISO focuses on, or this standard 35001 focuses on, is the fact that there has to be a continuous improvement process, meaning you can't just design a program, put it in place and say, okay, we're done. It requires continual updating, continual improvement. It recognizes that risk is not static, that things are changing, and that a continual process to assess what you're doing and to make sure it is working. And if it isn't working, that you change it, update it, and improve upon it. And that, again, is the backbone of this document. It sets up a system that allows for you to engage top leadership or top management and implement a continuous process of improvement, okay? All right, so here's what we've got. In this document, you've got 10 sections and only 26 pages. So it's not like a 200-page document. It's not a, it's not going to give you the details of what you need. You're going to have to actually listen to what the document says and then be creative in how you implement what the document is requiring or requesting, okay? But the 10 sections include scope, the normative references, terms and definitions, context of the organization, leadership, notice that, leadership, planning, support, operation, performance evaluation, and improvement, okay? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go through each section because we only have an hour, and I'm gonna kind of highlight what each section is bringing to the table, okay? I do have my glasses on because I don't want to overstep. I wanna make sure that I have the standard right here as we are going through it, okay? So let's talk a little bit about the scope. The scope really truly comes down into kind of, when I look at sections, the scope is only one little section. It highlights three critical elements. First, it talks about what this document defines. It defines an approach to identify, assess, control, and monitor risks associated with biological hazards, okay? Now, it also says this is what the document is for. The document is designed for any laboratory or organization that works with, stores, transports, and disposes biological materials. Now, notice, ladies and gentlemen, and this is very important, the title of this ISO standard, and this critical, is it says for laboratories and other related organizations. So I'm suspecting that ISO 35001 can also be applied very realistically to hospital settings, to those individuals who are working with, and it says biological hazards, to those individuals that are working with patients that may be infectious to some degree. I would recommend it. And looking through this ISO standard, I think it would be absolutely awesome if clinical hospitals or people who work with very dangerous and infectious patients in hospitals actually subscribe to the ISO 35001. I would think you'd be ahead of your time, way ahead of your time. But this also in the scope talks about what it isn't designed for. It isn't designed for people who are looking for the presence, of microorganisms or toxins in food or in livestock feeding, so to speak. This document is intended for the management of risk is not intended for the management of risk from genetically modified crops and agriculture as well. So the critical aspect is I want you to know what ISO 35001 is for and what it is not. It is for, again, any laboratory organization that works with, stores, transports, and disposes of biological materials. Any organization that does that. It is not for genetically modified crops and agriculture, or for organizations that are looking for the presence of microorganisms, whether it be in food or feedstock, okay? So that's the scope. That's section 1. Section 2 is the easiest, normative references. There are no normative references for this document. That means it's not really necessarily tied or dependent on any other document that pre-exists. That's a good thing. Now what I want to do is I want to go into definitions, because you now have two, get it right, two phenomenal biosafety, biorisk management resources with terms and definitions. Now, if you had watched the earlier session on the WHO, new WHO biosafety book, you would know that WHO did the same thing. They put out a list of terms and definitions, which, by the way, is awesome, because no matter whether you live in Pakistan or the United States or Australia or China or what, there should be an international language and vocabulary in biosafety and biorisk management. And so I just want to highlight some of the terms and definitions. Within this section, there are 46 terms defined in biorisk management. Some of the terms include, and this is critical, what a requirement is. Now, what is a requirement? This is critical. Let me read. A requirement, by this definition, is a need or expectation that is stated, generally implied, or obligatory, okay? Generally implied means that it is a custom or common practice of the organization, and that the need or expectation under consideration is implied. And when we talk about a specified requirement, is one that is stated, for example, documented information. So they do a really good job explaining exactly what a requirement is. There's no wiggle room, there's no gray area. They try to fill that gray area in, okay? They also define a biorisk management system. And they said, listen, it's very clear. They give you a very clear definition of what a biorisk management system is, and really, truly, in essence, what biorisk management is, okay? They distinguish between what an agent, biological agent, and biological material is. A biological agent is a microbiology entity, cellular or non-cellular, naturally occurring or engineered, capable of replication or transferring genetic material that may be able to provoke infection, allergy, toxicity, or other adverse effects in humans, animals, or plants, okay? That would be, in essence, a biological agent. A biological material is any material comprised of, containing, or that may contain biological agents and their harmful products such as toxins and allergens. So this is the agent versus the material. Using that word properly, I think, is absolutely critical. It goes into defining hazard, risk, and biohazard. A very, very good distinction between those two. Biosafety, biosecurity, and physical security. It breaks all of those out so that you can differentiate between those aspects. It goes into talking about reliability and competence. I think this is critical. Reliability is it's the property of consistent intended behavior and results. That's one thing that I think that we focus so much on writing SOPs, but we don't focus on why we do SOPs. We do SOPs so that we have reliability among different individuals in the lab. And this document focuses on what reliability is. It's a consistency of outcomes and behaviors among different individuals. So it talks about reliability. It talks about competence. It explains, in essence, what competence is and performance aspects, which is, I think, absolutely critical. Competence is the ability to apply knowledge and skills to achieve intended results or expectations. It talks about conformity and nonconformity. These are violations in SOPs, meaning if we've expected you to do something and you're not doing it, it's called a nonconformity. Now, this is tied directly into leadership, because leadership is then responsible for not only addressing nonconformities, but preventing them as well. And that's stated very clearly in the ISO standard. So that's, I think, again, an excellent aspect. It differentiates between an incident and accident, which, again, I think is very important. It matches what WHO teaches on that as well. Corrective and preventative actions. Corrective means what we do after an incident happens. Preventative means we found something before an incident and we're doing it to prevent further incidents or prevent something that could go wrong. And then it goes into distinguishing between validation and verification processes. Again, I think very, very important. When you look at validation, it is the performance characteristics of a method and provision of objective evidence that the performance requirements for specified intended use are fulfilled. When you look at verification, it's the demonstration, not the establishment, the demonstration of a method and that it actually works within the specifications that are being required, okay? So again, very, very important. Section 3 has over 46 terms that are defined specific to biorisk management, okay? All right, let's go on to section number 4. This is context of the organization, okay? What does that consist of? Context of the organization consists of 4 main sections, okay? These main sections include an understanding, all right, the organization and its context. Let's explain what that is. This is very, very important because the organization should have a mission statement and an objective along with boundaries that are clearly defined and communicated throughout the organization. It has to have external and internal issues that are relevant to the purpose that affect the ability to achieve intended outcomes of its biorisk management system. So the first thing it has to have is an understanding. This is critical. an understanding of exactly what the organization is intended to do, the goals and the boundaries within that organization. Section 2 is understanding the needs and expectations of interested parties. This is, again, a very, very important aspect. When we look at this section, and it's critical, it says that the organization shall determine the interested parties that are relevant to Biorisk Management System and the relevant requirements of these interested parties. So that basically means the people who needs to be involved in this and engaged in this has to be identified, okay? Now, the next aspect is determining the scope of a Biorisk Management System. The organization shall determine the boundaries and applicability of the Biorisk Management System, and when determining the scope, shall consider the external and internal issues, okay, along with the requirements referred to. So the external and internal issues that were found in the first section, understanding the organization in its context, and then the requirements referred to in number 2, which is understanding the needs and expectations of the interested parties. All right, and it has to be documented, so you have to put this in documentation. The last section, which is the Biorisk Management System, the organization shall establish, document, and implement, communicate, maintain, and continually improve a Biorisk Management System, including the processes needed and their interactions in accordance with the requirements of this document. So when you look at item number 4, section 4.4, absolutely critical. It says very clearly, the organization shall establish, document, implement, communicate, maintain, and continually improve a Biorisk Management System. So very, very important that when we look at that, that's one of the, I think, the most critical callings in the document. It basically says, in order for you to be ISO compliant, 35001, you're going to have to establish, document, implement, communicate, maintain, and continually improve your Biorisk management process. Okay? That's, I think, absolutely critical. All right? All right. By the way, I want to say thank you, Dr. Khalik, for saying that. I try my best. I'm hoping that this is beneficial to you guys. Again, I think ISO is a great goal for many organizations to strive for. And I know, based on what I've heard from Tim, that not only has NIH Pakistan, but UVAS and several other organizations within Pakistan have done a phenomenal job in developing systems that are in place to manage a risk specific to biorisk. I know great efforts have taken place at Kipchi University as well, all sorts of things. And I will provide the presentation. It will be, I will send it out to everybody who registered or everybody who attended the program. Because it's one thing to register for the program, it's another to attend. We have over 70 people attending this event today, which is great, but we did have 200 people registered. Okay, let's go to my favorite, which is leadership. Okay, let's go to my favorite, which is leadership. Leadership has 3 sections. The first is leadership and commitment. Second is policy, and the third are roles and responsibilities. Now, this section, in my opinion, is critical in how you set up your organization and listing the expectations of what leadership is. Let me explain. This is so some people say, Sean, we need guidance on telling leaders what they need to be doing. Well, you now have it. Get ready. This is spelled out very clearly here in section 5.1. Okay, here we go. Top management shall demonstrate leadership and commitment with respect to Biorisk Management System by, this is what leaders are required to do according to ISO. Here we go. They must ensure that Biorisk management policy and Biorisk management objectives are established and are compatible with strategic direction of the organization. They must ensure the integration of a Biorisk Management System requirements into the business process. They must ensure that resources needed for Biorisk management systems are available. They must communicate the importance of a Biorisk management system and conforming to Biorisk management system requirements. They have to ensure that the Biorisk management system achieves its goal and its outcome. They have to ensure roles, responsibilities, and authorities related to biorisk management are defined, documented, communicated, okay, and verify associated, to make sure that work with agents are verified. They have to direct and support people who are contributing to the effectiveness of the biorisk management system. They have to ensure clear communication actions, and they have to promote continual improvement and support relevant management roles to demonstrate their leadership as it applies to areas of responsibility. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's a huge list of things that people must do in ISO 35001. It's huge. It spells out exactly what leadership is required to do. How you get them to do it, well, that's where your creativity and hopefully some of the stuff that we've been teaching you over the past several years, you can begin to implement and take a look at. The second section is policy. And this is broken up into 3 categories, not sections, but 3 different categories. Top management shall establish a biorisk management policy that is appropriate, provides a framework, includes a commitment, includes expectations and control measures and performance evaluation for all levels within the organization, and includes a commitment to continual improvement processes, okay? The biorisk management policy shall be available and documented, be communicated, and be available to interested parties. The policy shall be appropriate to the nature and scale of the biorisks associated with the facility and associated activities. The policy shall commit the organization to, now get ready, this is what the policy is committing the organization to: protecting workers, visitors, okay, and the environment from exposure or contamination, assessing and prioritizing risks associated with the work that the organization is going to do, reducing the risk of unintentional or deliberate release, theft, or loss, designing and implementing processes to continually evaluate and improve the effectiveness of the system, ensure the need for effective biorisk management shall take precedence. Get ready, this is huge. Ensure the need for effective biorisk management shall take precedence over non-health and safety operational requirements. You hear that statement? That this is a priority. Effectively informing all employees and relevant third parties and communicating individual obligations with regard to biorisk management to those groups, okay? That is the policy statement. It's a huge thing, huge leadership. Not only does Section 5 give ideas for what leadership must do, it also provides policy, okay? It provides policy for what they have to do as well. Now, last but not least, it gives you guidance for roles and responsibilities. If you really want to put a biorisk management system in place, it gives you the chain of command here. It tells you exactly what people need to be where. First, it assigns the role of top management and lists them as the ultimate responsible individual for it. It discusses senior management and how senior management will report directly to top management and will be responsible for running the biorisk management committee. It also discusses how the biorisk management advisor may not and does not necessarily report directly. This is important. This is very, very important. It says, where applicable, let me describe what the biosafety officer or the biorisk management advisor should, where applicable, a competent individual shall be designated to provide advice, guidance, and assurance on biorisk management issues. This individual shall report directly to the senior management and have delegated authority to prohibit work. Are you listening to me here? This is a huge promotion for biosafety. Huge. Let me read it again. This individual shall report directly to senior management and have the delegated authority to prohibit work in the event that it is considered necessary to do so. This role shall be independent of those responsible for implementing the program of work. I hope you heard me. I hope you, this is basically saying there will no longer be a conflict of interest between science and safety. Science will no longer be the one that dictates safety in a laboratory environment. This individual will report directly to senior leadership and has the ability to cease work if it is a risk or people are outside of the biorisk management process. Now, the biorisk management advisor should include a variety of things. They list out several things. It goes into the scientific manager. Okay, so scientific management then comes in. And then after scientific management, this section ends. But I, again, want to encourage you, if you do strive for the ISO 35001 standard, so far, with everything that I've read, I have no disagreements with it. Now, don't get me wrong, I am not a big fan of policing and punishing and shutting science down. That's not what I want. But for far too long, has leadership been disengaged in the biorisk management process. Leaders have set expectations and provided resources, but have not looked at whether or not these individuals in the lab are following them. They've given the biosafety officer this responsibility of making sure the rules are being followed, and they don't have the authority to do so. The biorisk management ISO standard is bringing the balance of power back to leadership. It's saying, if you want to be ISO certified for actually managing biological risk within your organization, it is time for you to wake up and get involved. You can no longer just provide resources and expectations. You must make sure that the resources that you're providing are working, the expectations that you're setting are making the organization safe, and that people are actually doing what you're expecting them to do. That's what it's saying. And I think it's phenomenal. I think this section is absolutely critical, and we will be offering a leadership program soon in Pakistan. It'll be a remote-based leadership program from NIH Fogarty Center, and it's going to spend exactly all its time focusing on how to become a leader in biorisk management, okay? So get ready for that program. It is coming, but this section, in my opinion, is critical, okay? All right, let's talk about 6, planning, okay? Now, planning is actually broken up into 2 sections, all right? And those sections include actions to address risks and opportunities. Now, this is really, really neat. Opportunities are challenges, meaning things that have gone wrong, but well, we have an opportunity now to improve our overall program. I like the way they framed it. And then biorisk management objectives and planning to achieve them. So in the actions and opportunities, it basically says the organization shall plan actions to address these risks and opportunities and determine how to integrate and implement the actions into its system and evaluate the effectiveness of these actions, okay? So remember, key components of a biorisk management program include hazard and threat identification, risk assessment, risk mitigation, and performance evaluation, okay? And performance evaluation. Again, that is what we call, when we're looking at planning, that's where we do our risk assessment, our risk mitigation, our performance evaluation. I love number 4, because after you implement your risk mitigation strategies, you have to actually make sure that people not only can do the risk management strategies, but also actually are doing them as you're expecting them to do it, okay? Now, there are little sections under each, but I do not want you to be disappointed. If you look at the risk assessment chapter of piece, it's a couple paragraphs long. It's not going to give you a risk assessment process. You're not going to find any process in here that's going to teach you how to do these things. It's simply going to say facilitate a risk assessment process. Now, I will tell you that I was very happy with what I read in the new biosafety manual from WHO. I really was. In risk assessment, I think they did an outstanding job. I really do. They didn't use the best examples. I think they used smoking with tobacco, and that's not infectious, and I don't necessarily know if I buy that. But there is some great detail in the WHO manual for doing good risk assessments. But here is where they're really talking about, we've got to do a good hazard identification, a good risk assessment, focus on our risk mitigation, and then make sure people know what it is that they're supposed to do. When we get to section 6.2, I think it's important for us to understand that here they list out that the organization shall establish biorisk management objectives at relevant functions and levels. Let me explain what that means. The biorisk management objectives shall be consistent, be measurable, okay, be measurable, this is critical, Take into account requirements, be monitored, communicated, and updated as appropriate. The organization shall retain documented information, and when you talk about how it's going to do that, the organization shall determine what will be done, what resources will be required, who will be responsible, when will it be completed, and the results that will be evaluated. The organization shall ensure its biorisk management system includes a control plan that addresses responsibility and accountability for who's implementing this plan, resources to be utilized, timetable for implementation, adequate training provided in an effective way to workers in order to mitigate risk from potential failure or any aspect of biorisk management system plan, integration of risk control measures designed for biosafety and biosecurity, communication of the control plan across the organization, and mechanism and frequency for reviewing and assessing compliance with the plan. Okay, so again, that falls under section 6 in planning. Okay, all right, so we got to breathe a little bit. I'll tell you what, whew, this is we're more than halfway through right now, and we're on number 7, which is support. Okay, so again, taking a look at this document, we've gone through scope, we've gone through the context of the organization, terms and definitions, leadership, planning, support, and now we're going to focus. On support now. But some of the biggest sections within this document now occur in this regard. When we get to support, we have 8 sections. These sections are, in my opinion, going to be the brunt of the work. Number 1, under resources, you're going to have a worker health program. This is very, very similar to what we had talked about with occupational health programs, medical surveillance programs. Again, we've been talking about these for a very, very long time, and even had a lunch break series on these, or dinner break series on these aspects. Vaccination of workers should be implemented as well, that you should have vaccinations available to your workforce. It talks about competence. And I want to give you kind of what the document defines as competence. It's pretty cool. The organization shall determine the necessary competence of a worker, ensure that the persons are competent based on education, training, and experience, ensure that the workers are under close supervision until they demonstrate the ability to perform, ensure that competence of a worker is transferred to another person and that they're reevaluated. Meaning when somebody comes in, they get reevaluated. Where applicable, take actions to acquire the necessary competence to evaluate effectiveness of actions taken and retain appropriate documented information or as evidence of competence. So again, competence is measured in a variety of different ways. Now under that competence 2.1, so it's 7.2.1, is behavioral factors. Of course, my favorite, because I'm a behaviorist. The organization shall address biorisk associated with human behavior. The organization shall provide support and effective management of these behavioral factors, okay? Meaning, it talks about how people interact with the plan, the facility, its equipment, and its coworkers. It's talking about inter and intrapersonal relations of human beings in the laboratory environment, the interaction between the agent, the environment, the equipment, themselves, and people in the lab. I think that's pretty neat. And then it gives you personnel reliability measures. And it basically says that the organization shall establish policies and procedures for personnel reliability, control individuals' access, determine reliability based on local and national areas of concern, balance requirements for maintaining effective personnel reliability measures and the need to cultivate an atmosphere of trust and confidence, ensure that all measures are taken in lawful and ethical ways, okay? Now, section 7 goes on to talk about awareness, okay? And that's one that I left out, I apologize. People must be aware of the policy. They must be aware of the requirements. They must be aware of the outcomes of all relevant investigations with incidents and accidents. See, if you read these details, you have to understand that as many years I've been teaching people, when an incident or accident happens, this is not and should not be a secret. And this document basically is saying that persons who work under the organization's control shall be aware of all incidents and accidents. All. That way they have a chance to learn from them. That they have a contribution to the effectiveness. They include the benefits of good performance, the implications of not conforming with biorisk management system requirements, and legal requirements that govern biorisk management. All people should be aware of these. What happens if I don't follow the rules? Training shall include the identification of needs to be safe, the provision of programs on biorisk management training needs, provision of required biorisk training in line with biorisk management plans, determination of effective biorisk management training, provision of refresher training, assessment to ensure workers are competent, and maintenance of biorisk training records. Again, this is under training. When we talk about communication, it will communicate or consult, meaning it will communicate. What will it communicate or consult? When will it communicate and consult? With whom? Meaning the internal workers, the stakeholders, the interested parties. How? Through verbal and nonverbal communication. The organization shall ensure appropriate and effective communication processes are established between the workplace and the people who are doing the work. Ensure two-way directional communication is established with workers and leaders. Implement communication process for interested parties, their role, responsibilities, and needs. And ensure internal and external communication plans are in place along with training, and ensure the record of communications and meetings are kept. Again, this is going to provide several different guidance aspects for what you need. When you look at documented information, you're going to have to do the general information, which is just general, basically policies, procedures, and protocols. This is the typical SOP manuals. Then you're going to have to demonstrate the creation and updating, so dates. You're going to have to identify and describe your format, your review and approval for public release, security and protection of sensitive information. You're going to have plans in place for that. Then you're going to have a plan in place for controlling. Who gets this document? Who is it suitable for? How is it protected? Meaning it shouldn't fall into inappropriate hands. And it reflects the current policies and procedures that you're wanting to do within your institution. That falls under information, control of documented information. And last but not least, you have information security. You have your non-employees, safety for your non-employees, safety for your personal security, meaning individuals who are on the job that may be working with animals or doing something that could put them potentially at risk, and then control of suppliers, people who are working for the institution and supplying things for the institution have to be considered for support purposes as well. Okay. Operation. Whew, I'll tell you what, it's a long aspect. We're number 8 of 10. The operation is a long one as well. These are 10 sections. It includes the operation planning and control, and it talks a little bit about how you're supposed to perform these things. It talks about the differences between commissioning and decommissioning an organization and the responsibilities for doing those things. How you provide maintenance, control, and calibration, certification and validation of the equipment, provide physical security. It also talks about the materials inventory, which is really neat because it gives you, it says, the organization shall determine biological agents and toxins, other biological materials handled or stored, which will be accounted for and controlled through inventory-based organization biorisk assessments and other requirements as applicable. Okay, it gives you some good techniques, but it doesn't necessarily tell you what you have to inventory. Okay. It talks about good microbiological techniques and gives additional aspects as described in the WHO Laboratory Biosafety Manual, the most recent edition, and ISO 15190-2003. It talks about those as well. Closing, it talks about PPE and how it has to be provided and that it has to be maintained and that people have to be trained and follow SOPs on that. It also talks about decontamination and waste management. Gives all sorts of wonderful techniques, but it says, the organization shall ensure that all contaminated or potentially contaminated items waste streams, other sources are identified and documented, that you have validated procedures for decontaminating your biological waste, that you establish and maintain an appropriate waste management policy to control biorisk, that you ensure your workers are trained in waste decontamination policies and protocols, and that you implement a waste management program that includes provision for waste storage, identification, segregation, packaging, transport, decontamination, disposal, and documentation. Okay, and documentation. When we get to 8, 9, that's emergency response and contingency planning, which by the way, I think is exceptional. Because I think it's very, very important. We look at emergency scenarios. You should actually plan for all sorts of emergency scenarios. You should train for emergency situations that occur. You should exercise on an annual basis what you would do if there was a needle stick, a spill, a fire, those types of things. And then you have to have a plan in place to ensure safety and security of continued operations in the event of an emergency or loss of employee. Meaning if you lose somebody, how are you ensuring that you're going to be able to maintain operations and safety? Last but not least is your transport of biological materials. I think it's very, very important, and it's neat that it is addressed here. It talks about IATA and making sure that you work around international, national, and local transportation regulations. Okay? That is operation. Then we jump into performance evaluation. That's in 3 sections. You're going to have your monitor, measurement, analysis, and evaluation. You're going to have your internal audit, and you're going to have your management review. Okay, and it's neat. They do list out things that you need to do, but remember, this is critical in making sure that people are doing what you're expecting to do. And it's critical that you are measuring your biorisk management strategies and techniques to ensure that they are truly producing the result you're wanting them to produce. Now, when you look at the final section, it's in 3 sections. You've got general improvement, you've got incident, nonconformity, and corrective actions. It talks exactly about what you're going to want to do in these aspects. And then last but not least, your continual improvement process. Okay? Now, ladies and gentlemen, again, I really do, I wish that I could provide this document to you. It'd save you a lot of money and it would save you a lot of time. And I'm not going to be able to, unfortunately, because it is copyrighted. Every single file you get it has this imprinted on it, and so you're told you can't print and distribute it. And so I understand that, which is very frustrating, especially for folks that don't have high levels of budgets. But I will tell you this: I think that be on the lookout for additional training programs specific to this ISO 35001. Because there will be a lot of work done on this. I think that it is a good standard. I think that it's a good goal. I think, this is my opinion, I think many people in Pakistan are way ahead already. We've been striving for this for a long time. And I think that it's a good step forward. And I think that if people, I know, like I said, I know for a fact that NIH, Pakistan, and UVAS, and several other organizations, KIPCHI, have made huge strides towards this ISO 35001 without even knowing what it was. And I think that it's important for you, if you're looking for kind of a foundation or something that you could point to that says, look, this is who's telling us that we need to start doing things a little different. I think ISO is just another example of something that you can point to get leadership more involved in safety and security aspects. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, I know that was a very, very long presentation, and I apologize. But let's close this out, and I will take questions from you. Yes, Dr. Kashi says, are there any alternatives to 35001? Yes, go to CWA 16393 and CWA 15793. Go to those. They're practically the same document as the ISO. They really truly are. They're practically the same document as ISO. There are some little differences, but if you're paying attention to those things, you'll be in the right direction. You'll be well prepared for ISO 35001. Okay. Let me close this out. ISO 35001 is an outstanding goal to strive towards. There's no doubt. Biorisk management must include leadership continuously. I've been saying this for years. The more engaged leaders are, the better this program is going to be. The process for improvement means ending the shame game, a shame and blame game, and focusing on what rather than who did something wrong. We've got to move away from chastising people when something goes wrong to really focusing on the issue and making sure it doesn't happen again. A standard can be only a moment in time. You should always be evaluating where your organization is specific to risk and hazards. Meaning when you get ISO certified, don't jump for joy and say the job is done. It requires you to maintain and sustain the biorisk management program by always looking at what you could be doing better. So your job is never going to be done with specific to biorisk management, okay? And with that being said, I want to wish every single person on the call a very happy new year, maybe a year full of blessings and just great happiness and health and joy for you and your families. And again, I hope I have a continued chance to serve Pakistan and you as the new year comes. But I do appreciate all you guys have done and all your work and commitment to biosafety. You've made a difference, and I hope that you continue to make a difference as well. Okay. All right. Dr. Noma says, sir, it was a good session in biorisk management, how we manage hazard in a more effective way. But you said, but in slide 3, you clearly addressed that this standard does not meet the requirement of food testing and related to food safety. Yes, that's correct. It's not about that it doesn't meet the requirement. It just simply says this document. Let me read exactly what it says so that you understand. It's not my words. Let me read exactly what it says so that you can understand what it's referring to. This document is not intended for laboratories that test the presence of microorganisms and or toxins in food or feedstuffs. This document is not intended for management of risk from the use of genetically modified crops in agriculture. Okay, so that's exactly what it says. All right, that's exactly what it says. That's not my words. That's exactly what the document says under scope, which is section 1. Okay. All right. Yeah, I think they're basically saying is that you're going to need a little bit more doing the work that you're doing, Dr. Noma. That's what it basically says. All right. I'm going to go ahead and end the recording. That way, anybody who chooses to listen doesn't have to listen to the questions. But I do again want to say thank you for your attendance. Have a wonderful new year and blessings to you and your family.